Hey, hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. It's 3 p.m. Let's wait a couple of minutes, okay? So we can have a bit more attendees that we might join later. But in 1 minute, we'll start the webinar. And thank you for being with us today. So let's see. We can wait a minute. Hello, welcome to those that joined. The number is growing, so we'll start in a minute. The number of attendees, sorry, I didn't mention. Okay. Okay, perfect. So I think we can start with no further delay. So first of all, just the announcement, as you could see also from the webinar description, that it will be recorded, okay, for the communication purposes. So those people that couldn't attend this content, so be aware about that will start recording right now. And well, now starting from the webinar. So as you know, today the main goal is to present you the PULSATE and also the new funding opportunity that we have launched under this project. So thank you very much for joining. I will tell you a bit more about the PULSATE for those of you that might have not heard about the project and what we are doing. But then we'll focus on who, what, and how, so you can get the overview on the requirements and the benefits of the adopters open call that we have recently launched. And then I will try to provide you some tips on how to apply, what you should read. And at the end, we'll have a time for questions. We have here Alessandra with us. She's as Innovation Webinars Nick. Okay, so she will be with us from the technical side, reviewing also the chat. Okay, and at the end of our session, she will gather all the questions that you will ask in the chat, and we'll try to reply them at the end. Okay, so please write them in the chat during the webinar. And as the word introduction, I'm Izabela Zrazinska, and I'm a senior project manager at Fundingbox. I'm engaged in different European initiatives in PULSATE. I'm focused on the open call management, okay, dissemination and community building. But of course, if you want to connect with me here, I leave you my LinkedIn account. And I'm from Fundingbox. Okay, so we are in PULSATE leading the open call side. But as you might already seen, Fundingbox has also the go-to funding platform with multiple funding opportunities like Fundingbox, where we share the deep tech know-how and we try to connect the ecosystem to create how we call it funding champions deal. So to support the SMEs and the startups from European ecosystem through such initiatives like PULSATE. And Fundingbox is engaged in 48, well, now it's more than 50 projects from very different sectors. But here with PULSATE, we are under manufacturing one with the I4MS initiatives. That is our umbrella project that leads to the digitalization of the market of the manufacturing industry. And about PULSATE, so project has launched one in September 2020. Okay, so it's already almost 18 months that we are working together. And the main goal is to promote and facilitate the adoption of, and here this is this long word about laser-based advanced additive manufacturing technology. Okay, this project is one of the digitalization ones, because we believe that this technology is very important in the digitalization of the industry. So that's why this is the focus. And we want to reach the SMEs and mid-caps that could actually, the innovators, so those that already work on such a technology, but also those that want to adapt it to the processes in the different sectors, industrial sectors. And of course, we'll create the network around all our actions with the digital innovation hubs, competence centers, investors. And that will lead to the Digital Agora, that is a marketplace where all the services related to this technology and community will be based. So this is the overview, and who is behind? Well, the strong consortium of the 8 partners, 6 of them are the research and technology organizations that specialize actually in laser technology. And Fundingbox related to the open call, EPIC, that is one of the biggest consortium from the photonics, okay, is helping us with the dissemination, and Klesgo, who's responsible for building the Digital Agora platform. So with this strong consortium, we aim to revolutionize the markets with the laser-based advanced and additive manufacturing. Here are some examples. I will not get deep into them, but I believe it's important to read them or to understand how these technologies can actually involve different sectors that, well, we have predefined, but we are not limited only to those, because the use cases that we are looking for this through this open call can actually represent some of these cases. Okay, so we invite you also to get deeper on that. If you don't know how it could be applied, you can also contact us, and we can always try to help you. So PULSATE will launch multiple open calls. Today we'll focus on the one marked with the red arrow. But I just wanted to briefly mention that we have 2 modalities. Okay, the first one is technology transfer experiments. We have closed the first open call last year, and now these experiments are in the support program. So you can also see the winners in our community. So these are actually the success stories that we are already proud of, that we were able to support from our open calls. We will launch one more in April with this modality of experiments. And another modality or type is the adopters use cases open call. So this is the one that I would like to focus on today, because this one is open until 31st of March. And we will also launch the second one in 2023 with this modality. So the general overall goal are the four open calls that will found 62 projects and we have more than 4 million euro of funding to be redistributed to support the adoption of LBAAM in the European industry. So here's the link to the open calls landing page, where all this information is also included. But to the point on what are the benefits of the adopters open call. So for sure, well, it's funding, so it's up to 25,000 per SME selected per adopter, okay, so that can be used for the execution of the assessment, okay, because those that will be selected will enter 3 months of the mentorship led by, of course, PULSATE consortium partners, through which we aim to support those adopters, those SMEs, in doing the assessment. We call it feasibility or implementation assessment from technical or business sides, okay, to review on how to validate on how this technology can impact your business, and also to help you to plan the potential adoption. Okay, so after these 3 months, you should be able actually to proceed with adoption, and you should be able actually to see the benefits, okay, before doing so. So again, the benefits are multiple, and with the experience of the PULSATE, you should be able actually to do that. And who we are actually looking for, or what are the requirements for this open call? So who is the adopter or applicant? So it's a technology adopters. We call it also end user or manufacturing companies. Okay, so basically you need to have, well, the company that applies, that presents the use case, needs to be the one where actually the technology will be adopted. So any process that you have in mind that could be improved with LBAAM, or product, or how your business model can improve, should be included in proposal. What is important, you should have SME or slightly bigger status. Okay, so I will tell you about it on the next slide. And also, well, of course, the geographic requirements. So legally, your company should be established in European member state or associated countries. Okay, so here is more about the scope of the proposal. So what's the use case? Because we are all the time mentioning that adopters with the use cases. Okay, so the adopter is that SME that should have the high potential business use case for the implementation of laser technology. Okay, so here you have list of the areas of possible implementations, okay, as the examples, just to give you the overview, that were predefined by the consortium. So this is already a first view on that. And then you can also see the examples, right? That it could be technical use case or more technical related. So for instance, if you manufacture bicycle components and you want to explore like how the LBAAM could be implemented, so you might be able to receive from us like you should apply with the use case, with the proposal to like redesign the existing parts, or to use the component materials, you know, by using AM, or offer small batches design tailoring for disability customer. So here you could actually, you know, have a different cases that could be assessed for the support given by PULSATE, and the same for the business use case, right? That could be also evaluated. And for the SME and slightly bigger status, so just for those of you that might not be aware, how we evaluate this at the end of the process. So your company should, well, the head count, these are people employed, should be less than 250 or less than 500 is like the highest requirement. Or limits, and then also the annual turnover that should be less or equal to 100 million, or annual balance sheet should be total less or equal to 86 million. Okay, so like the maximum cap is in the slightly bigger requirements that are actually accepted, but no, we are telling that it's SME or slightly bigger, just as the reference for the European requirements. And here there's important thing to mention that research and technology organizations that sometimes have SME status are not eligible for this open call. Okay, so we're looking purely for adopters, so for the end users that can present the use case to be implemented in their process. Research technology organizations, no. And when evaluating your status, you should also take into account if you are not subsidiary of some bigger company, or if you're linked to another enterprises. All of these aspects are included in the frequently asked questions, so you can also double check if you have this status before applying. And then on the next slide here, well, something that I already mentioned, but European countries I think are quite obvious, but associated as well. And yeah, we also had some question about UK that is also eligible, okay, for this open call. There is also one aspect that I wanted to mention, because you know, we are sharing the communication channels between many projects, as I mentioned, that aim to digitalize the manufacturing industry under I4MS. So here, if you come to us from another I4MS project, or if you were beneficiary in first PULSATE open call, it is important to take into account that there is a maximum funding limit, which is 100,000 euro per entity, and it concerns, well, PULSATE projects, but also all I4MS and CA projects. Okay, so please double check if you have not exceeded this, if you will not exceed this funding to apply to PULSATE if you have received funding before. So that's for the eligibility. now I would like to tell you a bit more on how to apply. So we have this link that Alessandra will put into the chat, but I guess most of you are already aware about this. And this is our application website. By clicking apply now, you will the application will open. Okay, so you can actually see it. But it is very important to read first question, where you will find all the documents and especially the guide for applicants that has to be that you should read very carefully before applying. And if you need any help or you would like to join more webinars, you should go to the Get Help section. Here a small tip also that we advise to not wait until the very last moment of the deadline, that is 31st of March, at 5 p.m. You can actually submit, when you already have a full version, you can submit the application and you can keep editing it until the deadline. Okay, so this is important, just to not wait with the submit button. It's much better to submit it like 1 day before, 2 days before, and then keep editing it, okay, instead of waiting with the final submission to the very end. And for the timeline, so the open call will close on 31st March, that I already said. And then the selection process will last 2 months. Okay, I will give you the details on the next slide. But basically, at the end of May, we should be able to announce the winners, the official winners. And then during the summer season, you will be contacted to sign the sub-grant agreement with PULSATE, with the PULSATE coordinator, that is Ayman. And then in September, we will launch this 3-month support program that will start with the welcome event, where we'll explain you everything about support provided, milestones to be achieved, and the conditions for payment. So the standards. So by the end of November, it should be finished. And for the selection process, so the criteria, there are 4 steps. The first one, the eligibility check, will be done right after we close the open call. So we'll check the country of the origin, all the criteria, all the basic criteria that are described in section 3 of Guide for Applicants, and that I also described here, which is the things like country, if you marked that you are the SME status. So this is important, but this will be done based on what you marked in the application. And then all eligible proposal will pass to the experts evaluation. So these are the external experts from the photonics industry that were nominated by consortium partners, but they are independent, okay, to the PULSATE project. So they will review the 3 sections of the proposals: the excellence, impact, and implementation, okay, because these are the key aspects to be filled. And based on that, they will score, each expert will score the proposal from 0 to 5, okay, and then based on the average of the scores, the ranking will be created, and the proposals that will pass the threshold of the minimum 3 points per criteria and the minimum of 10 points for the total of the scores will pass to the consensus meeting, which is the final phase where the PULSATE consortium partners will gather and will discuss the ranking and will decide about the 21 winners that will be selected to join the program. And those winners will be invited for the legal check, that it's more formal phase, where you have to provide us all the documents just to review and validate your SME status and the legal things before signing the sub-grant agreement. So basically, after consensus meeting, the list is already solid. But during the legal check, it might happen that someone does not have a status of SME, or that something might happen. But this is the quite simple process that we do in 2 months. And now I wanted to tell you a bit more about each of these criteria, because this is the key that I believe each of you will need to write a winning proposal. So in the excellence section, there are 3 key points that you should focus on. So your current status so you have to think if this use case is within the scope of PULSATE. So of course, we are talking about LBAAM adoption, and I also showed you the areas of possible adoption that should be covered. And then you should also should underline your ambition. So why you're actually applying, why do you want to implement this technology into your process, and if your timeline is realistic for that. So if you plan to implement it this year or in 5 years, you know, this is also quite important aspect on what's your timeline for that. And then also you should show us that you actually understand the challenges of that. Okay, so it's not that you have to be realistic, okay, about this. So you should tell us what are the main challenges that you would like to overcome, that will also help you to overcome through the assessment, okay, by preparing you for that. Then in the impact section, it's more, well, you have to have a more European view or global view. So first, you should underline on how the adoption of laser technology will change your business model, or I would say even how it will help to differentiate your company on the market, okay, in comparison to the competition, or what added value it will bring to your business model. And then in the scalability, if you think that this use case could be scalable to another industries, it will be a big plus. And we also ask you for a small contribution about the European dimension, if you see any. So how do you think it could actually influence the European manufacturing industry? And then at the end, the optional section, but if you see any social and economic impacts that you know that are always appreciated in European projects, you should also include that as well. And then implementation part, where you should describe the team that will be responsible for the implementation of laser technology, but also that will be involved in the assessment. You should tell us what resources you will need for the future, okay, and what resources you will need also from PULSATE during the assessment. So for instance, it could happen that even if you're thinking about the adoption of laser technology, it might happen that you do not have the technology provider yet, right? So you haven't contacted anyone that could actually do that or provide you that technology. So we are very eager to know about everything you need, okay? So we'll try always to to adapt the support program later on, okay, for such a things. And then there is a section about the budget. So you should think about this, okay? I will show you on the next slide how to plan the budget, this 25,000 that you will receive. So there are 5 categories, okay, main categories for the budget, but you need to remember that this funding is for the execution of the assessment, okay? So for the 3 months that you will be involved and your team will be involved in the work on the assessment. So usually the biggest costs for a scene for such an action would be the personnel costs, okay, because it will be the preparation and planning and analyzing the things. But of course, we left open also the travel costs if you need it for the assessment, and also consumables that are also part of the budgets. So if you need anything, you can also include that, but yeah, we think it will be not necessary. Then there is the category overheads that is calculated as 25% of the personnel costs or travel and consumables. And then the subcontracting that is also in such a short period not recommendable, but just in case if it's needed, it should not exceed 15%, because of course the support that is given to the SME is for the tasks that the benefit that you will perform, okay? So it should not be delegated, because you're the one that should perform those actions. And based on these 5 categories, you can calculate the total costs, okay, of participation in such an assessment. And based on that, you can calculate the requested amount of funding, okay, that you need from PULSATE. As I mentioned, with having the maximum of 25,000 as the maximum that can be provided, and using the 70% of funding rate relation. So basically, you should take the total costs and calculate the 70% from that and see if that will give you the total of the 25,000. And yeah, we have included the cost references and examples in the frequently asked questions document, so you can see actually the references for that. And yes, as mentioned, please remember about the maximums under the I4MS projects and PULSATE. Here is this example. So for instance, as you can see, if you will involve 2 full-time employees in the 3 months of the assessments, this is how you could calculate it, okay, with the using only personal costs that you will pay the salaries to those employees, right? So this should be covered. So as you can see, you should declare the total cost of 36,000. So the 70% of this that will be requested funding will be 25,000. So this is a good example that you can follow, but of course, if you have any questions, you can always ask us during the application period. And of course, before the preparation, as I mentioned, please check the read first section on our application website. Guide for applicants is the absolute must, okay, that has, we try to keep it short and to the point to underline the main requirements and the process of the selection. And then frequently asked question is that additional document where we include all the complementary information, and also that document will be updated during the open call, so with all the questions we received from the applicants. And then you can also see there is the documents that is application form overview. So you can just download the PDF if it will make it easier for you to prepare the application. But please remember that it's only for your reference. So you always have to submit your application through the online by filling out the online form only. And then soon we will also publish the subgrant agreement. So that is the document that will be signed with the winners at the end of the process, but we believe it's important for you from the start that this is clear. So very soon we'll publish that also for your reference. We also have some help tools. Okay, so also Alessandra will put you the link in the chat for our open call help desk that is inside of the PULSATE community, where you can also ask your questions in the public or check if something was already answered. But if not, you can always send us a message. You can always read the frequently asked question document. Believe me, there are a lot of replies already. And you can also join our webinars, because this is the first one with the overview. But next month, on 3rd of March, we'll try to focus a bit more on the potential examples of the adoption of LBAAM. And also we'll try to give you more information about this assessment. Okay, so we have invited the MTC, that is the support program manager, and we'll try to give you a bit more information on that on the second webinar. And you can actually register already. We'll give you also the link in the chat, even though the content is still not included there, but you can just register and you receive the reminder in 1 month about that webinar. And then of course, when approaching the final deadline of the open call, we'll have a big Q&A and tips session based on the questions and that we received during all the open call duration from the applicants. And now I believe it's time for the questions. So I'm not sure, Alessandra, if we have anything in the chat
yeah, hello, Isa. Thank you very much. It was super great presentation. I think it was very clear. And I was asking to our attendants if somebody wanna participate with some questions. For the moment, we don't have, so I don't know if we wanna go through the presentation and wrap up a bit. In the meantime, the people can start thinking about something to ask if you want.
Sure, no problem. I mean, I will not repeat, but well, I think the most important thing to repeat is to remember about the deadline. We're still at the beginning, and the application form is quite simple. So of course, it's you still have time, but we invite you to other webinars and to review all the documents just to be sure that you're eligible. And if you have any doubt, we're always happy to answer through our help desk. Okay, so These are two key informations that you will need in case some questions occurs after the webinar. And if there are no other questions, which I think no, then I believe, yeah, maybe they will come when you start writing the application, or hopefully everything is so clear that that you can directly apply. Okay, so thank you very much for the attention. And I'm sure, Alessandra, if you want to add anything else.
No, just thank you very much, Isa, for the very well explanation, and everybody feel free to reach us if you want to learn more, if you have some doubts, if you think that you have something interesting to ask.
Perfect. Thank you very much, and thank you to the attendees. Enjoy the rest of the day.